2:40 in the morning. The Strait of Hormuz. 21 miles of black water, and somewhere beneath it, a submarine is doing something that should not work, and for exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds, it does. Before we go further, this is a hypothetical scenario reconstructed from real systems, real tactics, and real acoustic physics for education and for the kind of understanding you won't get anywhere else. The hardware is real. The physics is real. The outcome is the lesson. Here is what you need to understand about the Strait of Hormuz in the scenario we're walking through. CENTCOM has enforced a naval blockade. 10 ships have already turned back. The pressure is immense. And the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, the Irgun, is not the kind of organization that accepts blockades without a response. They are patient, they are creative, and on this particular night, one of their crews has just executed what might be the most sophisticated mini-sub tactic in the Strait's modern history. The asset is a Gadir-Class submarine. If you haven't seen one of these up close, picture a vessel roughly 29 meters long, shorter than a school bus, laid 3 times end-to-end. Displacement around 120 tons submerged. Crew of between 8 and 18, depending on the mission. It is not built to fight a fleet. It is built to appear, strike, and vanish. The Iranians have operated several dozen of these in the Gulf, and what makes them genuinely dangerous is not their weapons, it is their size. Small means quiet. Small means shallow. Small means options that a full-size submarine simply does not have. And on this night, the crew of this particular Gadir has found an option that is almost elegant. There is a VLCC, a very large crude carrier, transiting the strait on a routine heading, draft of 20 meters. That means the bottom of that tanker's hull sits 20 meters below the surface. The tanker's own machinery, twin diesel-electric shafts running at normal transit RPM pumps, generators, the low-frequency rumble of 60,000 horsepower moving 300,000 tons of crude, produces an acoustic signature so loud it blankets the water beneath it for hundreds of meters in every direction. The Gadir drops to 25 meters depth, 5 meters below the tanker's keel. It matches course, it matches speed, roughly 11 knots, near the top of what the mini-sub can sustain, and it tucks directly beneath the steel hull. Think about what this looks like from a sonar operator's perspective. You have one enormous acoustic contact on your screen. The tanker. It is loud, it is distinctive. It is exactly where you would expect a tanker to be. You are not looking for a second contact because your system is not separating one out. The Gadir is riding the tanker's acoustic shadow, what operators call riding the baffles. And for the purposes of a hull-mounted sonar array, there is one ship in that water, not 2. For 4.5 minutes, the tactic works perfectly. Here is what most people do not understand about acoustic masking at sea. Volume is not identity. The Gadir's crew understands this. Their bet is that if they stay close enough, their own engine noise gets buried inside the tanker's signature. One loud source drowns out a quieter, one underneath it. Against a hull-mounted sonar passively listening to broadband noise, they are largely right. The tanker is so loud it fills the frequency range. But they are not hiding from a hull-mounted sonar. They are hiding from a P-8A Poseidon. The Boeing P-8A Poseidon is a maritime patrol aircraft operating at altitude, covering a patrol radius of roughly 1,200 nautical miles. It is not one sensor, it is a sensor network manager. And on this night, the P-8A crew has already seeded a sonobuoy field across the northern approach lane of the strait, a grid of passive listening devices. Each one a self-contained hydrophone dropped from altitude, each one transmitting acoustic data back to the aircraft in real time. Here is where the physics turns against the Gadir. This is the part of the lesson worth holding on to, because it changes everything you think you know about acoustic hiding. Every diesel engine has a tonal signature. Not just a general noise level, a specific reproducible set of frequency lines as unique to that engine as a fingerprint is to a human hand. The tanker's propulsion system produces its own tonal lines, specific frequencies at specific intervals, tied to its shaft rotation rate, blade count, and machinery harmonics. Those lines are consistent. They do not change. The Gadir's diesel also produces tonal lines, different shaft speed, different blade geometry, different harmonics, different lines. When the P-8A's sonobuoy field starts receiving the combined acoustic signal from the tanker plus submarine pairing, the onboard processing system does not hear one ship. It hears one ship's tonal set, and then additional frequency lines that do not belong to that ship. Lines at intervals that match a single shaft diesel running at sprint speed. Lines that do not appear in the tanker's known signature library. What's most surprising here isn't the technology, it's the simplicity of the underlying principle. The P-8A is not trying to hear the Gadir through the tanker's noise. It is identifying that the tanker's known acoustic fingerprint now has extra notes in it. Notes that don't belong. Two instruments playing at once will always produce more frequency lines than one instrument playing alone. And no amount of volume from the louder instrument erases the proof that the second one is there. The P-8A crew isolates the anomalous tonal cluster in under 90 seconds from first detection. 90 seconds. The Gadir has been running this hide for 4.5 minutes. The crew below the tanker's keel does not yet know they have been found. They are monitoring their own passive sonar. They hear the tanker above them. They hear the ambient noise of the strait. They do not hear an aircraft. They do not hear a change. In that submarine, in that moment, the mission appears to be working. It is not working. The P-8A contacts the surface coordinator. The kill chain begins to close. And here is why the kill chain for a mini-sub in shallow water is genuinely terrifying. Not because of the weapons at the end of it, but because of the speed. An MH-60R Seahawk helicopter is already airborne, operating as part of the Surface Action Group's ASW screen. The P-8A vectors the Seahawk to a position 2 nautical miles ahead of the tanker's projected track, directly in front of where the Gadir will be, in 11 minutes at current speed and heading. Here is the key decision the P-8A crew makes, and it is worth understanding exactly why. They do not immediately signal the tanker to stop or alter course. If the tanker changes behavior, the Gadir's crew will notice the acoustic change above them. Shaft rate drops, machinery sound shifts, and they will know they have been detected. They will go deep, go silent, or release the tanker and sprint for shoal water. So the P-8A holds. The tanker continues. The Gadir continues beneath it. Put yourself in the Seahawk crew's position. You have a precise position on a submerged contact. You have an aircraft overhead, feeding you targeting data in real time through Link 16. You have an active dipping sonar and a loadout that includes a Mk-54 lightweight torpedo. The math says you win. But the orders tonight are not to sink a mini-sub. The orders are to send a message, one that is impossible to misread. The Seahawk positions itself directly over the Gadir's projected track. At the moment, the two vessels separate. The tanker continuing on its heading, the Gadir no longer under its acoustic umbrella. The Seahawk drops a single active sonobuoy, one ping, targeted, precise. An active sonobuoy does not whisper. It transmits an acoustic pulse that propagates through the water column in all directions and returns off every hard surface in range. At 25 meters depth, with the strait's thermocline structure above and hard bottom below, that ping returns off the Gadir's hull with unmistakable clarity. Every sonobuoy in the P-8A's field registers the return simultaneously. Inside the Gadir, that ping arrives like a physical event. Every submarine crew member with any training understands what an active pulse means. You have been found, you have been targeted, and the crew above you is demonstrating precisely that. This is not an accident. This is not a routine search ping. The geometry is too perfect, the timing is too deliberate. The pulse came from directly ahead, precisely where the Gadir was about to emerge from under the tanker's cover. One thing worth saying plainly, the Irgun's acoustic masking concept was genuinely clever. Probably one of the more innovative submarine tactics seen in the Strait in years. It exploited a real limitation of hull-mounted sonar against a less capable opponent, or in a different acoustic environment, it might have worked much longer. The failure was not in the concept. The failure was in not accounting for what distributed sonobuoy fields and spectral analysis do to tonal masking. The crew deserves credit for the idea. The physics gave them no grace. The Gadir bottoms out. This is a specific tactical decision. The crew takes the submarine to the floor of the strait in that section, approximately 55 meters, and goes to ultra-quiet mode. No propulsion, minimal electrical, crew stationary. Wait, in a mini-sub in a shallow hot strait, with whatever air management system the Gadir carries, this is not comfortable. It is a choice between discomfort and the alternative. The alternative was clearly communicated by one acoustic pulse. The mission is over. The blockade line holds. The Gadir will eventually have to move. Batteries drain, air runs short, and the moment it lights off its diesel again, every sonobuoy in that field will register the restart. The P-8A is patient. Aircraft have endurance measured in hours. Submarines sitting on the bottom in the Strait of Hormuz do not. One detail that stuck with me in examining how this kind of scenario plays out. The cost asymmetry runs in a direction you might not expect. The sonobuoy that sent the message A single AN SSQ-53 passive unit backed by one active pulse device costs roughly $300. The Gadir-class submarine located and forced off mission represents approximately $5 million of Iranian naval investment, years of crew training, and one of a limited number of hulls the Irgun can deploy in this role. $300 did not destroy $5 million. $300 simply told $5 million. We see you. Here's what this tells us about undersea warfare in constrained waterways. The Strait of Hormuz is only 21 miles wide at its narrowest. It is shallow. It is acoustically complex. Thermoclines, high ambient noise from commercial traffic, rocky bottom returns. These conditions were supposed to favor the small, quiet, shallow diving mini-sub. They do, against certain sensor types, but they also mean that a distributed sonobuoy field, properly placed by an aircraft with the processing capability of the P-8A, turns the strait's acoustic complexity into a library. Every contact is being profiled, every tonal signature is being stored, and the God's engine, its specific harmonic pattern at sprint speed, is now in that library. It has been recorded. It will be recognized the next time it moves, anywhere in the Gulf, regardless of what it tries to hide under. The lesson of this scenario is precise, and it is one of the most important principles in modern ASW, anti-submarine warfare. Masking volume is not masking identity. You can hide your echo. A non-reflective hull form, careful depth management, riding behind a louder ship. All of these reduce your acoustic cross-section, make your broadband noise harder to detect above the ambient. But your engine's tonal signature, those specific frequency lines produced by your diesel's unique mechanical characteristics, cannot be altered without rebuilding the engine. Every revolution of that shaft produces the same lines. Every time it runs, it announces itself to any system capable of spectral analysis. The Gadir crew understood this principle, which is why they ran on diesel only when necessary and matched speed to the tanker. What they could not account for was an aircraft overhead with a sonobuoy field wide enough to capture both signatures simultaneously and processing, fast enough to separate them in 90 seconds. The masking worked against the tanker's hull sensors. It failed against distributed spectral analysis from altitude. Here is the open question, and it is a genuine one worth arguing. Was hiding under the tanker actually clever, or was it suicidal? The tactic demonstrated real sophistication. It identified a sensor gap and exploited it. But it also placed the Gadir in a position where, once detected, and in this scenario, detection was essentially inevitable once the P-8A arrived. The crew had no good exit. They could not sprint, because speed on diesel is acoustically distinctive, and the sonobuoy field was already in place. They could not go deep, because the strait has a bottom. They could not fight, because an MH-60R overhead with a Mk-54 torpedo means the engagement is already over. The cleverness of the hiding was real. The exit strategy was non-existent. Comment 1 if you think the tactic was a genuine tactical innovation that deserved a better environment to work in. Comment 2 if you think any plan that ends with a submarine sitting on the bottom, hoping an aircraft runs out of time, is a plan that failed before. It started. We read every comment, and the split on this one is going to be interesting. The P-8A Poseidon continues its patrol. The sonobuoy field stays active. Somewhere on the strait's floor, a Gadir-class mini-sub waits for a window that will not come. The blockade line holds. And the Irgun's acoustic library, their collection of what works, what doesn't, and what American ASW assets can actually do, has one more data point in it. So does ours. If you want to go deeper on how underwater detection actually works at the physics level, we have a breakdown of how MAD systems work against submarines attempting to hide their acoustic signature behind magnetic shielding. Different sensor. Same principle, same result. That one is next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.